Yes, it is.
Are you looking forward to it?
Oh, very much, very much. I haven't spent too much time here ever, and I hope that I'll be able to see everything that there is to see.
I am no longer afraid, no longer silent. Those men didn't just betray me, they tore my soul to shreds. And for 40 years, Hollywood has watched and applauded. That voice, hoarse, guttural, and razor-sharp, belonged to Rita Hayworth. A never-before-aired tape, recorded the year she turned 69, just 3 years before her memory faded forever into the darkness of Alzheimer's. You think you know Rita? The woman in the flowing black dress from Gilda. The box office goddess. The face American soldiers carried in their pockets into battle. No, it was all makeup. The real Rita was no sex symbol. She was living proof of a system that killed with smiles, with camera flashes, and with bloody contracts. Behind those alluring eyes were hundreds of sleepless nights, times of being cheated on, forced to act, threatened, and even cruel whispers from the man she once called lover. And today, we're going to tell you the truth. The truth that Hollywood has kept hidden for nearly half a century. Every name, every cut, every kiss that smelled of death. Watch until the end of this video to see the 5 men Rita Hayworth called demons in men's clothes, the men she hated with all her heart and never forgave, even after her memory
Tuesday
faded.
night at the Rivoli. Well, no, he got me doing it. Because he loves it.
Hollywood once called Rita Hayworth the dream girl of every American man. But no one asked, what about Rita's own dreams? She wasn't born to dream. She was trained to serve. Born in Brooklyn in 1918, Rita grew up not on hugs but on forced dances under dirty stage lights. At 12, she was dancing flamenco for drunken men in Tijuana. At 16, her father sold her to Hollywood, not for money, but for power in exchange for his daughter's body. Her real name was Margarita Cancino. But the Colombian bosses said, nobody wants to sleep with a girl with a Latin name. So they bleached her skin, straightened her hair, and forced her to relearn every word of English. Margarita was killed in silence. Rita Hayworth was born of humiliation. In 1946, the role of Gilda sent America into a frenzy. But behind the iconic glove-stripping scene was a chilling truth. Rita had just miscarried after being punched by her husband. She begged for time off. The director refused. If she didn't shoot, she would lose her contract and custody of her child. She was shaking all the way through the scene, one agent recalled. But she was smiling. And behind the lights were the nights she spent in her dressing room, looking at herself in the mirror and wondering, when will I stop pretending to love guys who make me sick? She was married 5 times, and never truly loved. Edward Judson treated her like a commodity. Orson Welles manipulated her like a character. Ali Khan, a cold-blooded prince, forced her to read her diary to test her loyalty. In 1951, she nearly died from sleeping pills after a lover threatened to release secret nude photos. Even the FBI was after her, but Columbia Studios covered it all up. And when her memory faded, only one question remained in her mind: where is he? The one who pushed me off the cliff, and never came back to catch me. In the next part, we will name the 5 men Rita Hayworth hated the most, and the reason why Hollywood was silent. They called him a cinematic genius. But for Rita Hayworth, Orson Welles was the first nightmare in the mask of glory. When she married him in 1943, Rita thought she had found a husband, but she had no idea she was walking into a tragic script whose every line, every scene was directed by her husband. Welles did not hit or curse, but he manipulated Rita's emotions like a puppet. He spoke sweet words in public, but behind the scenes, his cold eyes scrutinized his wife's every breath. While Rita was filming Gilda, the role that made her an American sex symbol, Orson quietly installed hidden cameras in the wings. Not to learn from her art, but to monitor her every twitch of the lips, her every tilt of the head, as if he owned her soul. A tape buried in the Columbia Film Archive shows Rita breaking down in tears after one scene, when she discovered she was being secretly filmed by the husband she trusted. He didn't love me, Rita said. He loved the power I gave him when I loved him. Think Orson Welles only cheated in love? Go ahead and watch part 2, where another legend publicly humiliates Rita in front of dozens of studio employees. And no one stands up for her. On screen, Glenn Ford and Rita Hayworth were the definition of passion. But off-camera, Ford was a nausea that Rita could never shake. For 5 years, they maintained a secret, but unsafe, relationship. Ford was more than a lover. He was a manipulator, a predator in a suit. He recorded intimate phone calls, the vulnerable moans that Rita uttered in confidence, and then used those recordings to threaten her whenever she tried to leave. I saw him slide a cassette tape into his pocket, recalled a crew member of a fair in Trinidad. Then he looked at Rita and whispered, "You want to keep your image as a holy lady? Do a kiss scene again, or I'll show the whole of Colombia your real voice." And then came the unseen. In 1952, Rita became pregnant with Glenn Ford. But the pregnancy was never born. It was aborted, quietly, in an unnamed clinic. And Ford? Never mentioned. Not once apologized. Not once turned around. But nearly half a century later, Peter Ford, Glenn Ford's only son, undoubtedly reopened that wound in an interview that was largely ignored by the media. In his memoir, Glenn Ford, A Life, Peter wrote, "My father kept a box of tapes in a locked drawer. I asked him what they were, and he just laughed, the most expensive love words ever spoken by Hollywood. I was too young to understand. But later I found out, it was Rita's voice." Peter continued, "My father was drunk one day and said, if I release those tapes, she'll no longer be Gilda, but a high-class call girl. But I didn't, because I remembered how beautiful she was when she cried. Chilling, ruthless, and arrogant. Ford didn't kill me," Rita once said, "but he kept the most broken parts of me in his hands, like a collector of wounds." Ford was a liar masquerading as a hero. But the next man doesn't need to lie. He knows that if he sings one line, the world will forgive the worst. Get ready. Frank Sinatra, and the truth that silenced Columbia Studios, will be revealed in the sequel. No one dared touch him. No one dared speak ill of him. But Rita did. Frank Sinatra, the man whose voice brought America to its knees, was a musical nightmare for Rita Hayworth. They began dating in 1951, while both were recovering from divorce. But what began with love songs and red wine quickly turned into a battleground of control, jealousy, and emotional abuse. In an unpublished letter to a close friend, Rita wrote, "Frank does not behave like a man. He behaves like an animal, when the door is closed." One night at their Palm Springs apartment, Rita witnessed Frank smashing a bedroom mirror and screaming at her, "You are no better than Gilda. You are nothing without the light." A few days later, Rita showed up at Columbia Studios with a bruised lip. When asked, she simply replied, "I slipped down the stairs," but no one believed her. Rita didn't come back. She withdrew from the relationship, but also from Hollywood for a long time. With Frank, Rita lost more than just a love. She lost the belief that love could be gentle with strong women. You think Frank was the ultimate betrayal? Wrong. The fourth man didn't need to be famous to be cruel. He was the one who made Rita leave her role, leave the spotlight, and never come back. Watch on, where the light is not enough to save a dying soul. He didn't need to stand in front of the camera. Because all of Hollywood at that time was his private stage. Harry Cohn, the boss of Columbia Pictures, the man who made hundreds of actresses tremble just by hearing his name, was the one who literally owned Rita Hayworth. Rita didn't sign an artistic contract. She was forced to sign what she called legal prostitution, a lifelong commitment to the studio in exchange for fame and submission. Anyone who refused was removed from the release schedule. According to FBI documents declassified in 1984, Rita was once asked to spend the night with a Japanese investor whom Cohn had brought to a hotel for a private reception. She refused. The next morning, the main role in a major project was cut without reason. The director didn't know. The entire film crew was not given an explanation. And Rita was replaced by a more docile, young actress. Years later, in therapy, Rita choked out, "I don't hate Harry Cohn for what he did to me. I hate him because he made me believe that I was only valuable when I was naked." Cohn didn't need a weapon. He used business cards, contracts, and an acid smile. He destroyed Rita's career. But it was the last man the one who seemed to be her savior, who destroyed her soul. A prince, a promise, and a betrayal that left Rita without hope and sanity. He was the Prince of Pakistan. The only person Rita had ever thought would save her from the darkness. But no one had told her that sometimes the light could burn her heart. Ali Khan had entered Rita's life like a fairy tale, gorgeous, elegant, deadly seductive. She had believed that this was no longer a power play, no longer a role. She had believed that she was being loved, for the first time, as a woman, not as a symbol. But on the night of her 35th birthday, Rita walked into the hotel room in Paris, which she had rented to welcome him with candles and champagne, and stood frozen. Ali Khan, the dashing prince, was in bed, with her best friend. There was no remorse in his smile. Only boredom. The last photograph of them in Monte Carlo, Rita had torn it to shreds. No one had ever seen her cry so much. Her face was bare that day. There were only tears and a single sentence repeated over and over in her final diary entry: "I don't hate him for betraying me. I hate him because I still love him." Ali didn't kill Rita. But he let her die slowly, in silence. And the list ends here, the 5 men Rita Hayworth hated the most. Rita Hayworth was more than a sex symbol. She was a victim of Hollywood's glamorization and abandonment. A woman burned in a crucible of power, sex, and lies. But instead of letting the flames consume her, she stepped out of the ashes, to tell her truth. Not for pity, but to reclaim the voice that had been stolen from her. In a world where fame often comes with enforced silence, Rita broke the rules. She didn't need the approval of the crowd. She needed justice for the scars no one saw. And now we ask you, of those 5 men, who hurt Rita the most? Who was the real monster masquerading as a genius? Leave a comment below. In the next video, we'll release Rita Hayworth's final audio tape. She reads aloud the 5 quotes that Hollywood has tried to cover up for more than 40 years. Turn on the bell, hit subscribe, because what follows will make you not believe in what used to be called the halo.